Heard things, and we are live. Thank you for everyone who's joining me. I am Holly. Thank you for joining Heart to Heart with Holly, and we're continuing on our Tuesday series. Instead of Taco Tuesday, we're Talking Tuesday because that's a lot healthier. We're giving resources and information and connections and bringing you everything all about heart health and everything that could possibly make you heart happy. Today, my special guest is Holly. It's kind of funny whenever you say Holly to Holly, right?
Agreed.
So, Holly, I would love for you to tell our viewers and our audience and everyone who's going to watch later, usually later on, right? More people watch later on, who you are. First, let's start with that.
Okay, great. My name is Holly Morrell, and I'm the founder and executive director of Heartfelt Cardiac Connections. Heartfelt is a nonprofit organization dedicated to saving lives from sudden cardiac arrest through early detection, education, and increased public awareness.
And how did this start, Holly? How did you start this nonprofit? Because I know the story, but I want our audience to know the story.
Sure. It takes me back a bit because I've been doing this community service work for over 21 years now, and it's been an absolute blessing. But it started off, my family has a history of a genetic heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And out of 11 potential family members, sadly, 9 had the disease. Tragically, 6 have passed away, but 3 of us live thanks to interventional methods and advancements in technology and medicine and such. And so when I began my efforts in 1999, I began my efforts in memory of my loved ones lost. My father was still alive at the time after receiving a heart transplant, however, and he was a huge advocate. And I was training show jumping horses at the time, and he gave me a call. And after repeatedly hearing of these young athletes dying on the playing field, and of course, our family understood what was going on, but we were really, excuse the pun, heartbroken to see that the general public didn't necessarily understand how these tragedies occurred, and more importantly, that they could often be preventable. So my father, after hearing story after story, contacted me and asked me if I wanted to get involved with a community service effort. And of course, I was all in. And so there began my efforts in 1999 when I held my first community-based cardiac screening for the general public.
And that is something that a lot of people don't, you're still fighting, right? You're still advocating and still pushing forward. And that it happens to so many of our athletes. Yesterday, actually, my oldest had his well checkup, and they did not do an EKG or anything. You have to, it's on the documents. Have they ever had any kind of heart palpitations, shortness of breath or anything? But there's not something that is part of a routine checkup. It is something that you have to ask and request for. And that to me is still mind-boggling that, part of our youth having a well-fit physical is also the sports physical.
Right.
You at the same time so that you don't have to come back as a parent.
Right.
A whole nother physical for it. So they do both. But not once has my children, other than me asking, was it part of a routine checkup? And I know that this is something state to state and that you have been, you're more in Southern California. And that is, it was what, 55,000 people that you need to help.
Yeah, I've screened
I'm going to promote you a little bit here, put you on that spotlight of all the good things that you have done. What, 5,000 EKGs?
Yes. I've actually screened over 55,000 individuals now. And through our program, every individual that we screen receives both an EKG and an echocardiogram. So one is addressing potential electrical issues and the other potential structural issues. And it's quite comprehensive. But going back to what you were talking about, the pre-sports participation physical exams, you are correct. This isn't typically a part of any routine physical for that that matter, let alone a sports physical, which is very difficult to understand. However, on those forms that you were talking about, when they're addressing potential symptoms and or family history, I mean, that's a great step in the right direction, right? But the problem is first of all, how many of us really understand our symptoms, particularly kids, right? And as a parent, you're dependent upon your child communicating to you. And if they don't have a clear understanding, how is that effective? And then secondly, they would be potentially addressing any family history. And again, how many of us really understand our family history? We might know that our grandfather died under the age of 50, but do we really know what caused the death? So there lies a tremendous problem. And kids are being cleared to play sports without their families understanding if they're heart healthy. The other enormous problem, in my opinion, is the general public doesn't necessarily understand the difference between heart attack and cardiac arrest. And so therefore, they don't even begin to think that their otherwise seemingly young, healthy, active child could be at risk for cardiac arrest because they're thinking about heart attack and an older man who's maybe smoked and drank his whole life, or is overweight. And it's not like that at all.
I don't think of many people, when you think of heart issues, I think people, I'm gonna perceive this, but they think heart attack, right? You kind of understand what a heart attack. They do not understand what a cardiac arrest is.
Correct.
And that is one that is not educated on so many levels, with us being adults, down to our children. Even when you have a heart attack, sometimes it's not explained that it's actually you had a cardiac arrest.
Exactly.
And it's just not talked about. And they're very two separate things. Can you give us a little bit details so that our parents understand what that difference is with our children?
Sure. In very simplistic terms, right?
Yes.
So if you think of a heart attack as like a plumbing issue, some sort of blockage, usually the individual stays coherent. They might experience the pain down the arm, the chest pressure. That's when they will often tell them to bear down like they're going to cough, give them an aspirin, and CPR can be quite effective when someone's having a heart attack. Cardiac arrest, on the other hand, is an electrical issue, if you will. If the heart goes into a deadly rhythm, they need access to defibrillation, which is the paddles, within a very short period of time to help resuscitate them. So in simplistic terms, that's what the difference is.
And basically a cardiac arrest is you kind of you're passing away. You are dying and resuscitating you back to life. Where a heart attack is, there's a blockage and they go in to fix that blockage. Correct. Is that the way more explaining it because of the way you're doing it?
I think it might be best, Holly, to just leave it in very simplistic terms because I don't want to speak out of turn, right? Because I'm not going to.
We're not doctors.
To position myself to say I know how to treat a heart attack, but I think the audience would get, sort of a general overview of the difference. I think the main thing is for parents to understand, screening for so many years, I hear so many things at the check-in table, right? And, it's baffling to me that even sometimes families will come in with like 3 children and they'll only be having one child screened and maybe only one parent. And I will often ask them, well, why aren't you doing the whole family? And they'll, look at their, 16-year-old son and say, look at him, he's perfectly healthy. He's a cross-country runner. And it always baffles me because I think, do they not hear these stories of these Olympic athletes, World Cup athletes, professional athletes, college athletes, high school, elementary school athletes dying on the field, and so again, I think the most important thing is that if people could understand the general difference between heart attack and cardiac arrest and understand that it's typically cardiac arrest that's claiming the lives of these athletes on the playing field, they would then sort of be able to get their mind wrapped around that an otherwise seemingly healthy, young, active child can be at risk. And the way to save lives is through early detection.
Yes. And I wish that each state would make it a mandate that it has to be done, especially if you're doing a sports physical, because it's so important during that sports physical, because it saves your life. It's going to be able to detect if there's other issues that you're going to save someone's life, but they don't do that. And that's something that I know that you and I are both passionate about, of bringing awareness and say, that this really, really needs to be done. Last summer, when I was moving here to South Carolina, down in Charleston, playing football, a young athlete passed away. He was in high school, and having a high school, two boys that play football, it always resonates with me, that bringing, I always ask the boys, like, if you ever feel tightness, if you feel like you're out of breath, it's not worth continuing to play. Stop. You have to say something. I don't think that it's a conversation that's talked about, due to the fact, again, most people do not realize that this does happen at all ages. It's not an old person syndrome, or that you must be obese or out of shape that this is happening to you. That it
or living an unhealthy lifestyle, right?
Right.
To that point, it was really interesting. I had the pleasure of attending a couple football games of my youngest nephew recently, and it's like I was thinking to myself that over 21 years and doing the work I do, it's really difficult for me to sit in the stands and watch youth sports. I mean, it's thrilling and I enjoy definitely most aspects of it, but my mind always wanders to being a parent sitting in those stands and having to live through watching your child die on the playing field. And it just makes my heart so heavy. And unfortunately, I've met, hundreds of those families that have experienced such an event. And it's really difficult for me to, I don't have children of my own, so I can only imagine what it would be like. And, knowing so many families that have shared their stories with me, and it just makes my heart so heavy. And so to your point, it would be just an amazing thing if they would ever mandate this type of comprehensive cardiac evaluation being a part of a pre-sports physical exam. And I think we're making baby steps, but we have quite a long way to go.
Yeah, I know for me, I had talked to my boy's physical therapist that's inside the school, and have asked her, like, hey, why is this not part of our routine checkup? Why is this not done? And she's actually on board. So we're going to get with you so we can figure out how to make that and start pushing here in South Carolina, because I know in Florida, before I left, that was a big push.
They're making tremendous progress in Florida with
to think about it, because of the fact that they push and are making things happen. And so I think it's us speaking out on it, about it, right? Us talking. One of the things is always sharing your why. And when you share why, you save someone's life, because the story connects and someone else connects with you. And that's the reason why I had you on today, was that we are military, and yes, my nonprofit supports our military, but we have children. And this is the month of our military child. And it's so important to bring awareness that this touches our youth, and even in our military, it touches them. And we're also moving into National Stroke Month, which is May. And this, again, being able to detect heart issues, now that will help prevent from that, because you're aware and things are already on high alert, and you're educated, right? And you're getting everything that you need so that you can prevent from a stroke from happening. And and it's just, again, it's not talked about, because I don't think that, I think that the stigma is so much there that it has to be an older community. It has to be that you're unhealthy. It cannot happen. And I hope that today this brings a lot more light that, yes, it can happen to our children. Especially, I know for me, I'm very big with my boys, always touching them. Please tell me.
Well, right. Well, maybe, Holly, then it's an opportunity to share some statistics with your potential audience, right?
Yes.
Because sudden cardiac arrest and heart disease are, of course, the number one killer in the United States, even in the midst of the COVID pandemic.
Right.
COVID doesn't trump cardiac arrest. So many people might be aware of that. They might even be aware of the fact that it is also the number one killer of women.
Yeah. 1 in 3 women are touched by heart disease.
But many people don't understand that a young athlete dies every 3 days in this country. Every 3 days. That statistic is just staggering. But I would also like to point out that athletes aren't the only ones at risk, right? There's just usually a hyper focus on them because of the media coverage, as well as it's sort of shocking again when you hear of an otherwise seemingly healthy athlete dying on the playing field. And then they can be at greater risk at times due to the extra exertion and stress placed on their heart. If they already have an underlying heart condition, that means that they could be potentially at risk. So there are a lot of reasons why athletes are the focus. However, they're not the only ones that are at risk. Sudden cardiac arrest, doesn't discriminate age, gender, ethnicity, lifestyle, nothing.
Yeah. And that is, you've hit it on now. So it does not discriminate against our military, which a lot of
right.
people, for some reason, feel that's not part of, no way it can happen to anyone in the military. And it absolutely happens in our military.
Right.
So we're part of that 1 in 3. We're part in the 1 in 3 women. We're part of the 1 in 4 men. We're part of all of those statistics.
Yeah, and Holly, if I can, I'd like to take the opportunity just to offer kudos to you. I think you're such a go-getter, and I really admire all your advocacy across the board. But to that point, I think I shared a story with you, right? Before the lockdowns occurred, we were doing a screening with our friends Eddie and Tamara Judge at Cut Fitness. And usually when we screen at Cut Fitness, there's more of an adult participation, right? Because it's a gym instead of a school. But in any event, at that particular screening, it was the last screening that we were able to do before the lockdowns. And actually identified 2 men. I believe one was in his early 40s and the other in his mid 50s. And we identified both of those gentlemen with a congenital heart defect that they never knew that they had. And even more shocking, one was military and the other one was a fireman. I mean, how do you wrap your mind around that? They never knew that they were born with a heart defect. It's crazy to me. And they were absolutely shocked and talked about all the rigorous physical evaluation and training that they have to go through. And they never received any sort of comprehensive cardiac evaluation. It's just
ever. It's not done in the military. It's not done.
Right.
So unless you have to have an underlying other issue for those tests to be, it's not part of a routine checkup. And
right.
So we're fighting that good fight there. Let's make that happen.
And then the other point is that you I think you were saying or touching on that unless they're expressing some sort of symptom, right? But many causes of sudden cardiac arrest are asymptomatic in nature. So that doesn't work very effectively either. I mean, some people do experience symptoms and they're the lucky ones because then perhaps they have the opportunity for evaluation and follow-up and management and such. But if they're asymptomatic, sometimes the first symptom can be death, as overdramatic as that sounds.
No, and that is what happens usually with our service members. They're out PTing because that's part of their routine everyday checkup. They're running and they pass away. And it is, again, not having that knowledge, but our military is under so much stress and, to
say the least.
Right. And so those screenings are not done even when they come back from a deployment, which is my mind on that we are talking about PTSD, we're talking about sleep apnea, and all these other factors. They all coincide with heart issues. They all go back to these things trigger and make this, symptoms and stuff then come about. But unfortunately, sometimes a passing happens before that is recognized. And again, when they can't come back from a deployment or whenever they are joining the service, if this test was done part of the routine checkup, there are things that could be detected in, so that I give my kudos to you, because you are fighting for that to be more of awareness. And I'm going to follow your lead and have you mentor me on the direction to go, because those are things that need to be done within our military. A lot for our military spouses, we always take care of ourselves last, because on the first is always our family. And a lot of times we have heart issues and strokes and things like that during pregnancy because of the stressing out. And that's when things come about. And a lot of our spouses didn't know that they had a problem until the problem happened. But a lot of the things are passed on because you're pregnant, or we're kind of passed over, pat on the back. Well, you're just depressed. It's just, you're having issues with the deployment, and that needs to stop. And so hopefully we keep talking and educating and bringing more videos like this to say, please don't pat us on the back and say you're just depressed, because that's not the case. Most of the military spouses I've met are strong women and are strong men, and we're fighting a good fight, but we're taking care of everyone else except for ourselves. It's always pushed on the back burner. So maybe you'll be the first one we screen in our effort together, Holly. That is really you can screen me, yes. And I have a whole line of spouses who would stand in line and let you screen us too. And I'm in a perfect place. I've already told you I want you to come to South Carolina. I am at Parris Island with all of our recruits, so we can make this happen together.
Heartfelt has some great Heartfelt champions in South Carolina. We've screened there several times with a very special family, and they're great supporters of Heartfelt. That would be perfect, Holly.
Getting up past COVID and all these restrictions, and get you back to where you're supposed to be soon. And I foresee you coming. Maybe the fall will be a great time. National Heart Month is in September, so maybe we can make something happen then. Fingers crossed.
Great.
So thank you again for letting me interview today, and for you to give us statistics and tell us about Heartfelt. And I truly appreciate you very much. And I hope that our audience, when replaying, because I'm going to be sharing a lot, that if they will need to get in contact with you, you have a website.
So, it's actually heartfeltscreening.org. So it's heartfeltscreening.org. So heartfeltscreening.org. There's some testimonials there, some general information, some links to our partners, and hopefully soon some screening locations where the public can obtain screening. So again, it's Heartfelt at heartfeltscreening.org.
Yeah, and we're going to make South Carolina one of those.
Great.
Thank you so much, Holly. Have a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday.
Thank you, Holly. I appreciate the opportunity to share our work and hopefully raise some awareness together. Thanks so much.
So we are going to give away 2 books today. So I'll give them away tomorrow. So watch, like, love. What they say? Click, all the little things that you're supposed to do with social media. Brooke Mahaffey is a military spouse. She wrote these 2 beautiful. She wrote a
amazing
book called "I'm a Dandelion." It's a PCS story for children, and this is our PCS time, and it's a very stressful time. And so we're going to finish out our Purple Up month with giving away. And so watch Holly's video, because everyone who watches the video goes into the drawing for Brooke Mahaffey's book. So,
that's amazing.
Yep. And so on that note, thank you for joining Heart with Holly and Holly. Should say that right. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks.